Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Wednesday, November 28th, 2018. Want to talk about what's going on today and in history, and we'll start with a little history lesson from this very same day. In years past, it was 1943 that Stalin, FDR, and Winston Churchill got together on this day in Tehran, Iran, to discuss how to defeat Germany in World War II. And keep in mind that today, November 28th, is the 332nd day of the year, leaving 33 days remaining, the infamous number. So how perfect to meet in Tehran, having the gematria of 33, like masonry, like secrecy, like order. Also like Winston in England, Winston Churchill. As for Iran, the nation itself, it has the gematria of 42, like war and world war, and also Freemason. Don't forget that Freemason sums to 42 and 96. Those numbers have a mathematical relationship. The divisors of 42 sum to 96. Tehran also has that gematria of 96. So you couldn't really get a much more Masonic location or date. And it's just one more reminder who runs the show. Again, tonight on TFR, I'll be having a guest on, a Freemason himself. And just from briefly talking to him, it sounds like he wants to come on and say that Masonry couldn't be responsible for this because Masonry is not a very organized network. He's going to come on and make that point tonight. So we're going to hear him out and see what his experience is to speak from. Remember, any man can join Freemasonry. So, you know. And a lot of people in this world, they think they know more than they actually do. Also from this date in history, in 1907, future movie producer Louis B. Mayer opened his first movie theater in Massachusetts. And of course, Massachusetts, one of those three states having gematria of 33, using our most pure cipher. Those states are Delaware, the first state, Massachusetts, the sixth state, and Hawaii, the 50th and final state. If you use the reverse reduction, there's only one other state that has gematria of 33, and that's New York. And notice in 1909, there was this concert that premiered in New York on this very day, the day leaving 33 days left in the year. Another story out of Massachusetts. In 1942, fire engulfed the Coconut Grove nightclub in Boston, killing 492 people in the deadliest nightclub blaze ever. The cause of the rapidly spreading fire, which began in the basement, is in dispute. One theory is that a busboy accidentally ignited an artificial palm tree while using a lighted match to fix a light bulb. Again, we see these fires throughout history that pay tribute to Freemasonry. It's as clear as day. In recent months, we had the Masonic fire, which couldn't have been any more obvious. But in light of this happening in the year 42, nightclub and the most pure cipher is 42, just like Freemason. Again, this happened on the day leaving 33 days left in the year in Massachusetts. Look at the gematria of nightclub and Freemason. My theory is this was another Masonic sacrifice by the numbers. You know, the man who's going to be on the radio tonight, he's into Masonry for pancake breakfast. He's going to make that point. He's going to say, look, man, we can't even organize a pancake social. Pancake, when you take into account the master numerology of K, is 33. Masonry is known for their pancake socials. Notice the 39 as well. Masonry 39. So anyway. Again and again, the code points in one direction, and the code is Masonic. Also on this day in history, Ernie Davis became the first black man to win the Heisman Trophy Award. He played football at Syracuse in New York. New York's got the gematria 33 like Ernie, like Heisman. And if you haven't read my book, Letters and Numbers, talk about the death of Ernie Davis. The movie was made about him called The Express. This man died from cancer at the young age of 23. And notice he died May 18th, 5 plus 18, 23. It's also a date with 86 numerology, the blood sacrifice number. Died in Cleveland, land of 33. But dead at age 23, on a date with 23 numerology. And from the date he won the day he was given the Heisman, not the day he was announced as the winner, but from the day that he was given the award to the date of his death, 529 days, which has a square root of 23. You know, how perfect. And his date of passing was also a date with 33 numerology. In Cleveland, 33, Ernie, 33, the first black man to win the Heisman, 33. In 1975, on this day, President Ford nominated a federal judge, John Paul Stevens, to the U.S. Supreme Court. Great day for a federal appointment. Federal has that gematria of 33, like justice. In 1990, Margaret Thatcher officially resigned on this date. Her initials MT, 13 plus 20, 33. England, 33. And in 2001, Enron Corp, once the world's largest energy trader, collapsed after would-be rescuer Dinergy Incorporated backed out of an $8.4 billion takeover deal. And in light of this happening on the day leaving 33 days left in the year, don't forget that Ken Lay and Enron were the biggest backers of George W. Bush, the family that has their portrait up on the wall inside of the Masonic Temple in D.C., the House of the Temple, with the 33 pillars on the outside, each 33 feet tall. Ken Lay, he lived in this penthouse up until Enron's demise on the 33rd floor. Notice the mention of the $74 billion in the reporting from Forbes. Don't forget that energy equals 74, and we often see 33 and 74 paired together. But just thought that was interesting how Enron collapsed after an $8.4 billion takeover deal fell through on the day leaving 33 days left in the year. Again, Masonry, 33 and 84. What do you know? 10 years ago on this day, Indian forces also fired on Taj Mahal. There were suspected Muslim militants in the building. I did a wrong copy and paste of what I wanted to put there. That's funny. The word Indian has that gematria of 33. And Muslim, when you take into account the rule for S is the 19th letter. It can be 10 or 1. Muslim's also 33. And notice that story. Muslim militants just hours after elite commandos stormed a Jewish outreach center and found 6 hostages dead. Familiar narratives, familiar propaganda, news by the numbers. This code largely Jewish, also Masonic. And keep in mind this day leaving 39 days left in the year. Or excuse me, 33 days left in the year. November 28th, 11 plus 28 is 39. And again, those numbers have a lot in common in this study. Masonry, 33, 39. Secrecy, 33, 39. Federal, 33, 39. And with regards to it being the 28th, Mason also has the gematria of 28. So, perfect date for Masonic rituals. The biggest story today in the news thus far is martial law being declared in Ukraine. And again, they voted in Ukraine on Monday to begin martial law today. I don't think it's any accident that the police state is now underway on the day leaving 33 days left in the year. Police has that gematria of 33. And again, this stemmed from the incident this past Sunday. Today, Vladimir Putin has come out and said that this entire thing was staged. Supposedly, Russia fired on Ukrainian sea vessels and then captured 3 of their boats. Now, Putin comes out today and says the whole incident is staged, the same day that martial law is declared. And what it makes me think of is this. Masonry, going back to the Knights Templar, when they were booted from France, they ended up taking to the seas, and there were many Masonic pirates. And the word pirate has the gematria of 33, like false flag, like masonry, like secrecy, like order. And think about the martial law being declared today based on this incident at sea. Again, the term false flag, something that is a contrived incident and blamed on somebody to start some sort of agenda in motion. Back in the day, pirates would fly the flag of their enemy, do something that would be perceived as terrible so that it would be blamed on their enemy, even though their enemy wasn't responsible. It seems that in modern times, false flags are more along the lines of conspiring parties contriving an incident to lead to a greater agenda that at the same time eventually targets an enemy. I don't know if you could technically call this incident a false flag. It looks like more of a contrived ordeal, possibly leading to a greater problem, planting the seeds for something much bigger to come. But I just want to show you how numerological this entire thing is. Notice here, The Guardian emphasizes provocation. Putin accuses Ukraine's Poroshenko of Black Sea provocation. Provocation has that gematria of 58 and 59, just like Freemasonry. And 59 is the number for Freemasonry in Hebrew as well. Again, the 17th prime number where the word Mason is 17. And Putin says the incident was staged. Just to go back into history, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which led the United States into becoming involved in the Vietnam War, it was later admitted that the entire thing was contrived and staged and propaganda for the sake of getting the U.S. involved in this military conflict. And notice the coordinates of the Gulf of Tonkin. On the 106th meridian east, staged has that gematria of 106 like authority. It's another number we see come up often. The word prophecy also has gematria of 106. It seems that we're living out a contrived prophecy of world domination and destruction. Don't overlook that it was on the 19th parallel either, because chaos has that gematria of 19. The Masonic motto is order out of chaos. For the record, Vietnam has that gematria of 84 and 105, as well as 42. Masonry has the 84, 105, also the 42. And if you write out Gulf of Tonkin incident, sums to 228, also the 102. Look at United States of America, 228, 102. And Vietnam again was 84. United States of America is also 84. If you've read my book, there's a whole lot more to those riddles. But this was the incident that got the United States of America involved. There's also a date with 74 numerology, Masonic. Also a date with 93 numerology, like propaganda. And if you leave off the incident, Gulf of Tonkin sums to 174, also like false flag, like New World Order. Again, these incidents at sea that lead to war, you know. This has happened many times in history. They like to use the sea because the common people can't verify what's really going on. No one's out there. Also interesting, from the Gulf of Tonkin incident to the date that the U.S. officially got involved in Vietnam was 218 days later on March 8th. March 8th. Think about death, 38. 3/8, 218 days later, death, also 218. War is death. It's also 31 weeks in one day. U is the 21st letter. The numerology of 21 is 3. S is the 19th letter. The numerology of 19 is 1. A is 1, 311, USA. 311, the 64th prime. The Gulf of Tonkin incident happened in 64. Lyndon B. Johnson in command. So coming back to what's happened more recently with Ukraine, Ukraine and Russia took place this Sunday, November 25th, 2018. That was a date with numerology of 47. And today, Putin said that he believes this whole incident is to drum up support for the sitting president in his re-election campaign, which will be March 31st, 2019. That's interesting because from the date of the incident, the date with 47 numerology, to the upcoming election is 4 months and 7 days to go with the 47 date numerology. And as we talked about the other day, Ukraine equals 47. The word president is also 47, reminding of the Masonic logo, the capital G with the compass set at 47 degrees, plus government and authorities 47. Notice it's also 127 days. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equals 127. The name of the sitting president of Ukraine is Petro Poroshenko. Look at his name in Gematria. 84. Look at Vladimir Putin. 84. Do you remember when Putin got together with Donald Trump in Helsinki? Do you remember that? The first thing they talked about, out of all the things they could have talked about in the world, the first thing they talked about was defending Israel. Out of all the things in the world going on, you know, the whole supposedly debacle between the U.S. and Russia and meddling in the elections, out of all the things, what did they talk about? Defending Israel. Is it hard to see who runs the show? Again, for all the people who don't get gematria, it's just like, man, these people must really not have any common sense. You know, it's a Jewish practice. Where do the majority of the Ashkenazi Jews live in the world? Oh, in the United States and Russia. Also Israel, of course. The most live in the U.S. The second most lived in Russia before Israel. You know, it's just not hard to see. So anyway, we got the 84 show over here. Just the other day, we were talking about how it's also a very Jesuit number and the overlaps with the Jesuits, who are really Jews themselves. The Jesuits were founded by someone who was Jewish, St. Ignatius of Loyola. But anyway, the Masonic numbers are all over this thing. This incident, it also from the current president's birthday of Ukraine, from his last birthday, September 26th, 2018, to the incident was 8 weeks and 4 days later. 8 weeks and 4 days later. What are the odds? 60 days as well. The word order equals 60. Don't overlook that his birth numerology is 119. You know, what are the odds? In 2014, I was covering what was going on in Crimea, with it being annexed from Ukraine to Russia, and how it was being done all by the same Masonic numbers that you can trace all throughout U.S. history. Back then, we didn't know reverse gematria, but now knowing it, we can see even more. Notice Crimea, 49, 113. What do we know about America? America's 49, United States is 113, USA's 41. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the most powerful branch of Freemasonry, the most Jewish branch, Scottish 113 and 49. In 2014, we covered this. The Declaration of Independence of the Republic of Crimea was a joint resolution adopted on March 11th, a date written 11/3. How perfect for Crimea. How perfect for the Scottish Rite. You know, it reminds that in history, the capital of Russia moved to Moscow on the date March 11th. What a coincidence. That was also a date with 32 numerology, 3 plus 11 plus 18, 32. Scottish, 11332. I noticed something today that I'd never noticed before. The word patterns and the word Scottish are the exact same in all 4 base ciphers. And again, these people work by very repetitive patterns, and it's their biggest giveaway. You know, I think the most amazing thing about my work is that nobody else caught on to this. Well, I mean, maybe somebody did catch on to it before I did, but they didn't, start broadcasting it to the world and sharing it with everybody. So I'm surprised that nobody caught on and broadcast it before I did. And then the other surprise is that more people haven't caught on to what's undeniable that we've been sharing now for 5 years straight. And again, it comes back to this right here. What is the correlation between intelligence and pattern recognition? In an evolutionary point of view, pattern recognition is what made us as humans able to survive and thrive much more efficiently when compared to other animals and organisms. Since we do consider ourselves more intelligent than other species of life, we could also consider that pattern recognition is a crucial part in intelligence. It is stated that humans are considered as the world's best pattern recognition machines. You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of the Talmud. It makes me think about how non-Jews are considered animals, not worthy of the human label. Because it seems to me that most people actually can't pick up on patterns at all. They can't see the obvious. Here I am for 5 years straight showing very repetitive patterns, and still very few people have caught on. The average person who comes across my video for the first time, even as well presented as things are now, they're like, man, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. What a bunch of coincidences. It's like, wow, you are proof of the Talmud. So anyway, I do not think this is an accident at all. This is what these people do. They are pattern machines. Also, in light of the 49 thing with Crimea and Scottish and America, from Putin's birthday to this incident was 49 days. How perfect. 49 days. And again, Crimea, it was right off Crimea's shores that this happened between Russia and Ukraine. And again, Crimea was just a Ukrainian territory annexed by Russia in recent years. So this is all part of an ongoing debacle. And notice Crimea's flag, notice Russia's flag, and notice the US's flag. And think about Britain's flag, the headquarters of Masonry. Think about red pill, blue pill. Just want to go back real quick and cover this story from October 17th, 2018 in Crimea. Might have forgotten about this. The story was that there was a mass shooting there, and how it was so reminiscent of what takes place in America, and nobody in Crimea would have ever thought this would happen in their nation. We had kills 19, we had kills 17 in the headlines. We understand why, right? 19's chaos, 17's kill, Mason. This happened on the 17th, date with 45 numerology. Happened at the Kirch School. Kirch has the gematria 45. Leader of Crimea was 45 years old at the time. The prime minister who spoke out on this. The Kirch Technical College, gematria of 109, like shooting like military. Remember, we just talked about this yesterday with the falsely accused young black man who was in the military in the Alabama shooting from November 22nd. October 17th was the day leaving 75 days left in the year. New World Order, order out of chaos, mass shooting. So the shooter was 18 here, 61 the 18th prime active shooter, 61. The name of the shooter, gematria of 69 like false flag, also gematria of 111 like October. Again, the point of looking at all this is just to see how the same things go on all across the world by the same repetitive code. Again, English is the language of the New World or the New World Order. That's why if you know English, you can apply this code across the world. I had a woman who follows my work like a month ago go, I'd like to do this in my own country, but I've never taken the time to decode my own alphabet. I'm like, well, you already speak English, and I'm showing you that they do the same thing all across the world with English. And she goes, oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't think about that. And I was just like, wow, because I knew that the woman who wrote that, she'd been following me for years. And I was like, how do you not think of that? Again, that Talmud, I'm telling you guys. The prime minister who spoke out on this also has the 69 name gematria. 41 days from his birthday, Crimea also 41. So, same formula across the world. Measure from the people involved, the people speaking out, the date, the names mentioned up. It's always the same. And something else that I forgot to mention up here, must have skipped over. Either that or it's further down and I'm not there yet. It must be further down. Wanted to remind, oh yeah, here it is. In light of this martial law coming on the day, leaving 33 days left in the year, it reminded me of the Prime Minister Yatsenyuk, who was doing everything by the numbers at the time Crimea was being annexed by Russia from Ukraine. You can see how this territory is right between both. They all used to be part of the USSR. But Yatsenyuk did everything by the same numbers that go on over here in the United States. He was prime minister from February 27th. On July 24th of that same year, he announced he would be resigning. That was 147 days after his birth, or not after his birthday, after the date that he assumed his position. 147, like the 147 windows on the White House, Freemason 147, conspiracy 147. His name Yatsenyuk 33. Believe Crimea became a recognized territory in October in history, also the lone 33 month. I didn't know the name or I didn't know reverse gematria back then when I decoded Yatsenyuk. The most pure cipher, it was 33. 48, Freemason in Hebrew and in English. 141, like when you write out 33. So, again, across the board. And what was Yatsenyuk? He was a Jewish man. So, again, it tells you or reminds you who uses the code. Don't forget about the Bolshevik Revolution. That forgotten piece of history that took place in that same territory around the time of World War II. All right. So another top headline today here in the U.S. is Trump responds to two of Mueller's questions. And we're going to look at why this happened today. And also, let's just start with why he answered two questions. Two has that gematria of 58, like Freemasonry, like secret society, like Trump being the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. This answer comes on the day leaving 33 days left in the year. Masonry, secrecy, order, federal, all 33. So, President Donald Trump told special counsel Robert Mueller in writing that Roger Stone did not tell him about WikiLeaks. We just covered the Roger Stone thing, all the same Masonic numbers all over that whole thing, pointing to the Scottish Rite. Nor was he told about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting between his son, campaign officials, and a Russian lawyer promising dirt on Hillary Clinton, according to two sources familiar with the matter. One source described the president's answers without providing any direct quotes and said the president made clear he was answering to the best of his recollection. This is the first insight into how the president responded to Mueller's team's written questions, a key unknown as Mueller aims to wrap up his investigation and prepare his final report. So Trump finally answers on the day leaving 33 days left in the year. And how does this line up with Mueller, who's 74 years old right now? Well, it comes 113 days after his birthday. And again, Washington, D.C., the land of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. What are the odds? What are the odds? If you count the full span of days, it's also 114. President of the United States equals 114. Trump has the gematria of 114 in Francis Bacon. Today's date has 57 date numerology, Scottish Rite 57. Today's date also has 77 numerology, secret society 77, United States 77, power 77, DC on the 77th meridian. And don't forget, in light of the Scottish and Scottish Rite tributes here, that the Scottish Rite headquarters has etched on the building ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry summing to 187, like Robert Mueller, like investigation, like Washington, D.C., like Richard Nixon, who was under investigation when he resigned, reminding that Donald Trump had his GOP convention begin July 18th or 18/7, exactly a span of 187 days from Inauguration Day, which happened to fall on a date with 58 numerology. And I think I forgot to note up here that in light of Trump answering the questions about the meeting at Trump Tower, don't forget that building where Trump announced he was running for the 58th U.S. presidential election is 58 floors tall. What are the odds? If you want to really go thorough on the Mueller investigation, I have so many posts on my blog about Robert Mueller that just show how this whole ordeal has been by the numbers from day one. And when this whole special investigation was announced and Mueller as the special investigator, it was on Trump's 118th day of being president of the United States. Special investigators 118. It was also announced on May 17th, which is the 137th day of the year. Washington, D.C. has the gematria of 137, like White House, like government, like the Masonic Bible that has a statue in D.C., morals and dogma. 137, again, the 33rd prime. How perfect is that? The 137th day of the year, Trump's 118th day of president, special investigator put on the scene, Robert Mueller. We just covered the Roger Stone thing very thoroughly. Won't do that again. We just covered it days ago. But if you come search for all of the Mueller posts, there really is a ton of information here. And I could probably write a book on this Mueller investigation alone. Trying to first charges filed. This thing's really been drawn out. But just things like this too right here. the Russia investigation, what this whole thing's known as, Gematria of 139, like Freemasonry, like America. Again, it always points in one direction. So I recommend you take the time to scroll through the mini posts that are on here. There's got to be, I don't even want to guess, there's got to be at the very least 50 posts on the Mueller investigation, just because this has been such a long, ongoing story. So anyway, also in the news today, Democrats back Pelosi. Reminding you that it's a land of kings and queens, because, I mean, why would you ever make Nancy Pelosi the face of your party? Nancy Pelosi is not liked by the public. She's not liked by Democrats. She's not liked by Republicans. You know, she's just another empty mouthpiece. When the Iraq war was going on, you know, she was against the war. When the Democrats had the executive branch, the House and the Senate, she helped escalate the war. I mean, this country is just such a transparent fraud, and no one seems to care, unfortunately, or not enough. But look how this lines up here. Nancy's 78 years old. To her upcoming birthday, it's a span of 119 days, also 17 weeks. Big numbers with masonry there. Today has the 57 date numerology to go with her age at the time of this announcement. Nancy's 57 and 78, just like Scottish Rite. What a big day for Nancy. Probably a lot more to it. The reason I was 2 minutes late to start the podcast, I was about to sign on, and this was the breaking headline. I was like, oh, I got to get this in here. Democrats back Pelosi. Hold on, we'll talk about this here first, and then we'll go on to the EPA water thing. Cindy Hyde-Smith ended up winning in Mississippi. And what I noticed is with her winning the Senate seat, the Republicans now have a 53-47 lead. We know all about 40C. It's 47. DC 47, government 47, authority 47, Republican 47, Democrat 47. 53 is a feminine number. It's associated with the Vesica Piscis, the womb of the universe. Vesica Piscis and womb have that gematria of 53. So how fitting that a woman finishes it off and becomes number 53. And I noticed that her name, Cindy Hyde-Smith, equals 166, like secret society. And this news, the election that she won, came 166 days after Trump's birthday. So this was a nice note for the Republicans here to get the W. And lined up very well with Trump. Again, reminding how well the chessboard is set. Also, just for a little review, we talked about these headlines about Walmart wanting their money back from Cindy Hyde-Smith for her public hanging remarks. That news was on a date with 69 numerology. Public hanging equals 69. Also, there was the story about how she was dressed up as a Confederate, and from her birthday to the date of the election she won was 201 days. Confederate 201. She's down there in Mississippi, one of the Confederate states. And her public hanging remarks were emphasized with the news that came on November 26th, the day before the election, where nooses were found at the state capitol. Date was 75 numerology, nooses 75, and again, that was the 26th, where lynch equals 26. This is why we need the Truth Seeker bus, and to be traveling from location to location. It'd be nice to be at the Mississippi Capitol, raising awareness about what really went down here with the rigged election and the divisive news and the tributes to history by the gang. Take the tour bus over to the local Masonic lodges and do some exposing there too. Make some people come out and answer some questions. Also in the headlines today, November 28th, 2018. EPA violations found in nearly 1/3 of public water systems. What is 1/3 as a percentage? It is 33.3%. And here we are on the day leaving 33 days left in the year. How about water systems? Sums to 137, the 33rd prime. It's not like they just would have figured this out today, but now you can understand why the news comes today. Again, every single day, the information we get by a code. And let me show you what this made me think of personally. Oh, yeah, the articles focused on this town of Enterprise, Louisiana. Today's date has the 57 numerology. Enterprise is 57, like Scottish Rite. What controls our federal government? Enterprise, LA, the abbreviation for Louisiana. 74, like water systems. So we can see why they're talking about this town. But what it made me think about is how these reports will be put out about how some cities, towns, it's found that they have too much arsenic in their water. There's arsenic in all of our water. We're told by our government that it's at trace levels that aren't harmful to us. But keep in mind, arsenic is the thing that's been used throughout history to purposefully kill people. When you are poisoned by arsenic, it appears that you die from the flu. And think about how many celebrities you hear dying from flu-like symptoms. That's a sign that these people have been killed by arsenic. And part of the reason arsenic's been used to kill people throughout history is because it's very hard to trace. Anyhow, arsenic is the 33rd element on the periodic table. Happens to sum to 33. And couldn't help but notice that water systems also has the gematria of 187, like arsenic poisoning. And I also think about all the other harmful chemicals that are added to our water and told that they're okay or they're good for us. Fluoride is something that can naturally occur in water. It's a mineral, it's a metal, but fluoride levels were boosted in our water around the time of World War II due to all of the aluminum and metal production that was going on for the war and having all of these excess fluoride byproduct. And who approved the science for putting fluoride in our water? A doctor that worked for the aluminum industry. Does that sound like somebody who might be compromised? The same industry that profited from selling the fluoride byproduct to the government to put in the water? No. So anyway, just a little reminder there. Also, for just a little more teaching on the periodic table, the word periodic has that gematria of 47, also 137. It's the 33rd element on there. Again, arsenic, the element that's been used to kill people. Periodic table also has some standout gematria, 119. And hey, I just noticed that periodic is 79 and periodic table 79. That's interesting. 79 is the 22nd prime, the master builder number. Master has that gematria 22 as well. Hey, for anyone who was in gematria school last night, I should have talked about how the 47 degrees above the capital G, some researchers say that the G stands for Gnosticism, spiritual belief related to Christianity. Gnosticism essentially says that an evil force, something like the devil, rules over the world, and to be spared from that evil force, you need the Christ figure, or what they call Jesus in Christianity. And don't forget that Christians 47 as well. So anyway, last night we were talking a lot about 47. One more thing you could bring into the discussion of the subject and how it relates to those 47 degrees on the Masonic compass. Here was another story. I saw this emerge last night, but it's also one of CNN's top stories today. This woman was out for the special election yesterday in Mississippi. So she wore a Confederate flag to vote, then she laid it on a civil rights leader's grave. And if you read the story, she says she wore a noose around her neck and a Confederate flag around her shoulders to remind people of the history of racism and what her ancestors had to go through, and still that racism is the weight she carries on her shoulders. That's the story, right? So I noticed her name is Bivens, and I couldn't help but notice the gematria Bivens. We've talked about this many a times. 30 and 42, the N-words 30 and 42, Tuskegee, the syphilis experiment done on black men, 30 and 42, slavery, 30 and 42. She did this yesterday, the same day the news broke. November 27, 2018, date was 76 numerology. She wore a Confederate flag, 76 on her shoulders. I mean, just understand, you don't make the news unless you're part of the planned news cycle. So it'd be interesting to know who this Bivens woman really is. I recognize that she's from the town of Hattiesburg, and I believe I told my story about my video on Hattiesburg from years ago, where I had never seen so much trolling, and I knew I had hit some sort of Masonic hotbed epicenter, which no doubt it is. This little tiny town shows up in the national news a lot. So she's out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Hattiesburg also has that gematria of 68 like noose. It also has gematria of 58 like Mississippi, like Freemasonry, like secret society. And this town, when I first exposed this town, it was one of these racially charged shootings. I have to go back and investigate that, because I believe one of the men in jail was somehow found dead in his jail cell months later. Got to go back. It was years ago now that I covered it. But part of this news cycle is that she laid this Confederate flag at the grave of this civil rights leader, Vernon Dahmer. This man here died at age 57. I couldn't help but notice that. Confederate has that gematria of 57, like Scottish Rite. And don't forget about the Confederate Scottish Rite war general, Albert Pike, who has a statue in Washington, D.C., holding the book Morals and Dogma, the Masonic Bible. So Vernon Dahmer died at age 57, just shy of 58, if you can make that out. Born March 10th, 1908, dead January 10th, 1966. Would have turned 58 just 2 months later. And notice the gematria of Dahmer. 49, 113, 32, Scottish, 113, 49, 32. Again, usually if you're recognized in the history books, you're affiliated with the network. Hattiesburg also has that gematria of 49. But this man right here, the same man with this grave, he was a black man, and look at how many days he died before his birthday. 59. Negro Slave Blues. All 59. Freemasonry, 59 in Hebrew and in English. Kill in Jewish gematria, 59. Also 8 weeks and 3 days, kind of like 83, the murder number. So, again, everywhere you look, the same repetitive patterns. How could it all be? Just in case you didn't see this last night, briefly brought this up in gematria school. This was a breaking headline last night. Again, what is 47? I'm telling you, if you just educate people about this one number, they're going to catch on, because it comes up so much. Officials released video from gender reveal party that ignited a 47,000-acre wildfire. And not only does it hit us with the 47, but then you come down and look at the article, and this happened on April 23rd. What is April 23rd? Well, that is the 113th day of the year. April 23, 113. What do you know? What do you know? So, And again, I mean, what's the story really bring up in your mind? Just reminds you about the whole thing going on with the confusing of the sexes. So many agendas being waged against us. The age of mass confusion, mass deception. And just wanted to point out again that yesterday when Trump threatened GM with the subsidies, we pointed out that subsidy equaled 27. This news came on the 27th. What I didn't catch yesterday in the podcast is it was also 27 days before the GM CEO's birthday. So, and then the plural subsidies equals 35, like plants, like vehicle, like how this story began on the day, leaving 35 days left in the year, November 26th. And also, we talked about Harvey Milk yesterday and how Sean Penn was the perfect man to star in the film at age 48, just like how Harvey Milk died at age 48. But what I missed is the name Sean Penn equals 34, like Harvey, like murder, like how he was killed on the day, leaving 34 days left in the year. So just wanted to add in those notes. Again, the more you decode, the more you see. And we got about 10 minutes left. What I want to do real quick is open up the phone line to callers. But what I forgot to do here is set up the speaker. So bear with me one moment. If you want to call, get your thought in line. I'm going to hook up the speaker real quick and then open up the phone line. If somebody can post the phone line in the chat, that would be great. Bear with me just one moment.
Had to do, and I actually.
Oh, that means my girlfriend is on her phone right now looking at something and she didn't turn off her Bluetooth. One second here. Let's see. All right. So if you want to call in, we should be in business. The number to call in is 509-731-0567. 509-731-0567. Talk about the news, or maybe you got a question or something else you want to share. Thanks for posting the number, Sarah Wynn. Hello, everybody. Hickok says Chris Penn, Sean Penn's brother, died by the numbers. I just got to look that up. Chris Penn. January 24th, 2006. Santa Monica. He's 40 years old. Yeah, not very old. Well, maybe nobody's got anything to call in with today. That's okay. If not, we can always wrap it up here. Make sure there's not any other breaking news time I've been presenting. Trump and Manafort, two guys with the same gematria numbers. Wonder what the gematria of off the table is. off the table. 197, the 45th prime, number 45. All right, everyone, we can wrap it up here then. I got to prep for the radio show tonight, and I got to finish getting the book updated with the pages numbered here. I'll be posting that on. I'll be posting that for the $11 tier on the Patreon page shortly. Make sure we don't have any questions or comments in the chat. Do you guys notice that when Hickok writes a sentence, he always has to drop an F-bomb in every single sentence? It's like when he calls into the radio show, too. Every single sentence, he has to have an F-bomb in there. It's like, dude, every time you call in, you can't cuss on the radio show, or they're going to delete your call after they edit the show. Yeah, so Mikey checked out that movie that I was saying to check out. I don't want to talk about it yet because some of you probably haven't seen it, but I'll show you something interesting about that movie, though, just the title of it. The movie title is called The Invitation, which has this gematria of 67, and when you get to the end of the movie, you'll see what's going on in that film. So it has that 67 connection, blood sacrifice, but the invitation is also perfect overlap with secret society in 3 of the 4 ciphers. And people who invite the dinner party over, they've joined this secret society death cult down in Mexico. Of course, Mexico has that 33 connection too. So. But I think the movie's pretty eye-opening. What happens at the end, just before the credits roll? What it's trying to say there about that ritzy community where that man's living in the Los Angeles hills. Yeah, check out Hickok's blog. He doesn't drop his F-bombs on the blog, but he does good work over there. All right, I'll scan the chat real quick and Chuck Norris and his character named Cordell Walker, the exact same in all 4 base ciphers. Great one, Corky Duke. Never caught that before. We have seen how a lot of character names are the exact same as the actor name, maybe not in all 4 base ciphers, so that might be a new unprecedented catch. Yeah, maybe I have covered the death of Chris Penn before. I forget. I mean, I've covered so many things. Sometimes I forget the things that I've covered. Oh, looks like Locksmart needs a wrench. Liam looks like he needs a wrench. All right, you guys, we can wrap it up here. Again, Gematria Effect TFR starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, every Wednesday night. Hope to catch you guys there. You have a great rest of your day. Be back tomorrow, same time. Till next time, Truth Seeker.